Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because we're going to dive into what is honestly a masterclass in modern music history. We're going to analytically break down the exact formula of how an 8-member P-pop group from the Philippines just achieved total, undeniable global domination. Seriously, forget everything you thought you knew about how international crossovers work, because this group, they're rewriting the rules in real time.
Let's jump straight in. I want you to look at this quote from Forbes. Forbes, the ultimate global authority on business and cultural power, recently stated that this group, BINI, didn't need to translate themselves into English to translate their energy, calling it the absolute gold standard of global artistry. I mean, wow. When a publication with that kind of weight hands you the crown for global artistry, you know we aren't just talking about some fleeting viral moment here. We are looking at a massive structural shift in the music industry. Now, what's really interesting about the slide is the sheer, mind-blowing velocity behind this number. 50 million. That represents the staggering amount of fan cam views BINI generated in just 48 hours during their first weekend at Coachella. Think about that for a second. That's 50 million views from entirely organic, ground-level footage filmed by real people standing out there in the crowd. It's literally a digital avalanche.
So here is our roadmap for the breakdown today. First up, the Coachella breakout. Number 2, forged in the pandemic. 3, unapologetically Filipino artistry. 4, beating the global icons. And finally, number 5, the P-pop era begins. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Coachella breakout, taking over the desert. So history was quite literally made when BINI arrived as the very first all-Filipino girl group to perform at the festival. Forbes even officially named them the breakout stars of Coachella 2026. And notice, that's not one of the breakout stars, but the definitive ones. Their performances of massive hits like Pantropico and Salamin Salamin caused this absolutely undeniable organic chaos in the crowd. You know, the Mojave stage is already legendary for launching artists into the stratosphere, but what happened here was just next level. Fans were actually camping out hours early just to secure barricade spots. That is a level of dedication usually reserved for legacy acts or, massive headliners. And while they were up there performing, the hashtag BINI Coachella was trending simultaneously in 7 different countries. We're talking the US, the UK, all the way to Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They completely commanded that massive international crowd.
Moving right along to Section 2, forged in the pandemic, sweetness, sparkle, and cicerette. Okay, so to really understand their incredibly dedicated fan base, who are known as the Blooms, we kind of have to rewind to their intense underdog origins. Back between 2020 and 2021, BINI debuted right in the thick of the pandemic. They were completely relying on spotty Wi-Fi, live streams reading comments. I mean, they were actually learning complex group choreography at home, totally separated from each other. But their unique mix of sweetness, sparkle, and sisterhood, it just broke right through those digital screens. Fast forward to December 2023, and they are completely selling out the massive Philippine arena. By early 2024, they had 7 different songs charting on the Billboard Philippines Hot 100 for 7 straight weeks. And that whole journey culminates in spring 2026, with them standing in Hollywood, accepting the Billboard Philippines Global Force Honorary Award. The contrast between practicing dance moves alone in a bedroom via Wi-Fi to accepting major global awards in Hollywood, well, it's nothing short of cinematic.
All right, Section 3, unapologetically Filipino artistry, culture as a superpower.
You see, BINI's true differentiator isn't just their insane talent, it's their unapologetic cultural pride. Take the salacote, for example. It's traditionally a Filipino farmer's hat, but BINI, working with their creative director, consciously chose to reimagine this into incredible, high-fashion stagewear. In an environment where, let's be honest, most acts default to standard Western pop formulas or whatever the trendy aesthetic is, BINI stepped onto the world's biggest stage wearing custom Filipino streetwear. They literally made the global audience stop and learn something totally new.
And they certainly didn't stop at fashion either. Let's talk about the Kulintang. It's a centuries-old gong ensemble from the southern Philippines. Now, instead of using a standard electronic beat drop for their Coachella dance breaks like everyone else, they infused these indigenous gong beats directly into their set. They essentially forced the international crowd to experience a deep, cultural sonic history, all while their feet were already moving. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive paradigm shift.
You see, the traditional formula for a global crossover usually involves, releasing an English single, securing massive American radio deals, maybe launching with a highly produced Netflix documentary. But the BINI blueprint completely flipped that script. They sang their hits in Tagalog and a mix of Filipino English. They wore salakote hats. They took a grueling 14-hour flight from Manila to the desert with absolutely no massive Western machine behind them. They relied purely on word of mouth, undeniable stage presence, and the sheer power of their performance. And the wildest part, the crowd sang every single word back to them anyway. It was purely organic and 100% culturally authentic. Which brings us to Section 4, beating the global icons. The data doesn't lie. Okay, so cultural impact is obviously vital, but let's look at the hard numbers. Because the data proves BINI is currently outperforming established international superstars. During Coachella Weekend 2, BINI was the #1 most mentioned artist on Twitter. #1. They comfortably beat out Justin Bieber's massive surprise return at #2. Sabrina Carpenter and Madonna were at #3. Lisa from Blackpink, who is literally one of the biggest K-pop titans on the planet, landed at #4. And the legendary K-pop group Big Bang, reuniting for their first U.S. show in nearly a decade, placed at #5. So, just to recap, BINI beat out surprise performances from legacy acts, Western chart toppers, and K-pop titans. Beating that specific lineup in online conversation, that is definitely not a fluke. That is a definitive statement.
And trust me, the industry is paying incredibly close attention. Take this quote from Billboard Korea, recognizing BINI's powerful presence on the global stage and their ability to draw an enthusiastic crowd response. Guys, this is profoundly significant. Billboard Korea is the very empire that tracked and documented the rise of K-pop from a regional sound to a global juggernaut. So when they acknowledge an 8-member P-pop group from Manila, they are essentially tipping their hat. It's a clear acknowledgement that the playing field has expanded, and they're practically passing the torch for fans to discover something unapologetically Filipino.
Finally, Section 5, the P-pop era begins. What happens next? So BINI basically auditioned for the entire world and got a massive standing ovation. And the commercial aftermath of this is just staggering. Label executives are already scrambling to book them for major fall festival slots, like Lollapalooza. During Weekend 2 alone, rumor has it multiple major American record labels were submitting offers. And just to prove this isn't some one-hit wonder situation, their upcoming U.S. arena tour, hitting huge cities like LA, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Houston, and Atlanta, well, the pre-sale codes for that sold out within minutes. This isn't just a successful weekend in the desert. This is the start of a permanent global movement. As we wrap up this explainer, it's pretty clear the conversation has officially shifted from can P-pop succeed to something much, much bigger. For decades, the Philippines has been this massive domestic music market, but it was rarely viewed as a premier global export. Well, BINI took a desert full of expectations and burned them completely to the ground. The entire landscape of global pop music has just changed. They are no longer the underdogs. They are the blueprint. Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to ponder. BINI has the immense talent, the staggering numbers, the rich cultural authenticity, and they now have the undivided attention of the global music industry. So the question is no longer if they will make it. The question is, when does the rest of the world catch up? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown was as fascinating for you to explore as it was for me to put together. Keep your eyes on the charts, because the P-pop era is officially here.